It's April 2nd, 2022. It's Palm Sunday, um, where I went to Zion, and which is what is Queens local. And I'm watching Channel 2. Um, and they have on, because Passover, first of all, cherry blossoms are coming up where they're going to observe the cherry blossoms. I know that's important in some, I heard it was an important, peaceful, whichever, um, in things that carry forward. And then they talk of things Passover, which again, I have, um, on my side of things, I hear there's this Camp David, there's this Episcopal church that they said was safe for me to attend as a youth. Um, as a girl or a woman, um, and whatever that means. And then there's, of course, this Camp David thing that I've heard about, being that I was born 78, which is the Jimmy Carter era. They did something with a Camp David that was what I stepped into on this side of the Atlantic without knowing. I mean, I was an infant. So growing up without any knowledge of anything else, especially globally. Um, so I'm listening to the Passover, and it's interesting. They make matzo balls, which is one thing, where there is this, they give up flour. I'm like, flour, huh? And then later on in the episode, they talk about macaroons, which is coconut, which I'm like, no, that's weird. Macaroons, because it's spelled Macron. I found that out just recently, quite by accident. Um, and then, and that's where like that fleur de lis like thing might really be pertinent. In I don't know what happened to David Vincent. I don't know what happened at John Vincent. I don't know why whatever happened by the Mark, then went to the Glen, was whatever, and I was forced back into Queen's position. I have no idea growing up why any of that played out on divine clocks the way that it did, um, with however the second hand arrived. It was still via my vessel, and it is still divinely important, um, as am I. And so I'm listening to how, this community that I have no access to, I don't speak Paleo Hebrew, I don't really speak Hebrew, um, but they celebrate, and in their bakery, they have this, they have these traditions in New York. They're speaking on them. I thought very interesting listening for sounds of wisdom of the word Passover. Then they're going without flour. And then there is this macaroon made of coconut. And I'm like, that's interesting. And how are all of these things relatable? Um, so here's what it sounds like on the mainstream.
Thursday, from Bryant Park to Branch Brook Park. Remember the Cherry Blossom Festival underway in Newark. Monday, a great day for that. Could see some showers Wednesday into Thursday. Cool finish for Good Friday, and then seasonal numbers Saturday into Easter Sunday. But Passover is Wednesday. Gotti here at Bread's Bakery. Macaroons would be on a Seder table. Absolutely. Macaroons are a perfect little dessert. They're also a great snack for that whole week where you can't eat gluten, you can't eat flour. This is a perfect thing to sort of take a bite on every once in a while. They're no flour, no, but they are baked, right? They are baked. Yeah, it's coconut is the base of it. These are called macaroons. Some people will think of the French macaroon, yeah, which is more like a little sandwich. Those two, believe it or not, John, they have the same ancestor. They were both started in Italy in the 16th century, and my guess is that my ancestors in Poland didn't have coconut. I'm gonna guess they didn't have coconut, but in the United States you have coconut, so you make coconut macaroons. You know what I love? It's like you've got the baguette and a Israeli take on that. You've got the French, the Polish, the. You got it all here. Now I know Vince. We're driving Vince crazy. Take us, get back there. What's this glazing operation? Oh, this is a new macaroon that we're doing for this year, which is a coconut lime macaroon, and so they're glazing it with that beautiful lime flavor. We also do an almond. We call it an almond joy macaroon. Ooh. Has some almonds in it. And macaroon, they're a perfect little vehicle. You can really put anything.
Now, this is interesting because, again, are we talking common flour or are we talking going without a different type of flour? They put it on their bakery goods so this way they would have some sense of reality if reminded at some point that no one part agreed to give up flour.
Showing us treats as Passover is upon us, Holy Week is upon us. John Elliott, take it away. So I know that Passover is all about. Go ahead, lay it on us. It's all about the absence of flour and the absence of bread. But this is still bread. She's layering right now. That's all butter. She's going to beat it into the. She's going to beat it to make sure that it's making contact. And then she'll fold over. She'll save the butter. She'll save the flour. She'll do it again. Then this amazing machine back here, it goes back and forth, all of these layers of flour and butter, and then it ends up a creation like this. And every little single line you see is a layer. So there's got to be 50.
Now, this is the interesting part where they're speaking of this matzah, and he tells a story of it.
So gracious. I know you're busy, and I know this is a busy time of the year. Everything involving Passover is around the Seder.
And again, like, I don't know if these were agreements that went into my local culture that I'm not in touch with because I don't know how they conduct themselves or what branch or line they're from, but these are their local culture, I suppose, that they have amongst each other some layer of semblance of a reality and a consciousness at a common level of what's gone into their bakery items that then they share the knowledge, they pass it forward to their children, almost like a layer of protection, I suppose. But it's also something to group and gather around in whichever, to remind oneself at divinity if there are divine crimes going on, and one needs to speak up at levels that may not translate out to something whatever. Um, since this side had something called a Camp David Accord, Again, I don't know, that seems to be a party line issue or a partisan issue, but I don't know what that ties into, but it was some form of agreement. And then there's some basis of whatever that goes around that, tied into both levels of whatever people studied during this life frame that I'm here and these things happened.
And the Seder is a family meal where the story of the escape from Egypt is told. Every food has a story, right?
Every food has a story. Everything that we put on the Seder table has some meaning to it, some symbolism to it. It's beautiful. It is a little bit like Thanksgiving, but a little more scripted. Yeah. We have a Haggadah, which is a book which you read at the table, and the idea is to pass to future generations the story of the Exodus from Egypt. And it's a beautiful story. It's in a way an American story. It's a story of people leaving a place they did not want to be to create a country and to have freedom. And really, what a better story than the story of freedom.
And with that context, what I like what you've done is you take the matzah and you turn it into this. What is this?
Now, again, I don't know if this is a Sephardic journey. I don't know. Again, I am in this star person category of there's about 10% human population left. It's endangered species level. Not everybody qualifies for that special process for marriage that I had, or requirement of, because it puts my life in danger when the something else is introduced, for whatever that means. So if amongst the Camp David Accord, if there were peaceful treaties or whatever, with a section that was handled by one holy book and a section for those that were already at a disadvantage because I didn't have anybody at home to teach me Hebrew. I didn't have anybody at home to teach me those things. So then there was this Episcopalian with the Red Cross that took us in at the Glen, and that was the weekly ritual. But as far as it, I have to say today with Father Carl, it's a lot more of teaching by Father Carl. Reverend Lee did not lead the same type of congregation. He was not a teacher like Father Carl is. Also, there were other degrees of certainty where First Communion at Father Lee's establishment was not allowed until till the children went through Sunday school, their paces or whatever was set for them, their tasks. In the other institution, it's changed only slightly, although now it's being offered, which I appreciate because I want Anthony to have the education. But it's just interesting to me as to tasks that were divided almost as like a two-winged system, kind of embracing from a Christian perspective, a Judeo-Christian perspective, around whatever I hear that some of the other Catholics, they had religious education requirements during the week. My religious requirement was on Sunday at Sunday school. And that's it. That's what was required. That's what was done. And that's what was followed.
This is a matzo brie. This is our version of a matzo brie. Matzo brie is something that so many people make at home. At its base, it's very easy. It's sort of like a frittata omelet with the matzah in it, or maybe like a French toast where matzah replaces the bread. Here we've sort of done it up and we've turned it into something you can put on your Seder table, and we've added some herbs to it.
Here, you know what, Vince? They're doing it over here. Look at here's young Justin. So this really, this is the mix. Justin's mixing the flavoring with the matzah, right?
Correct. That's exactly right. He's mixing, in this case, some mushroom and some cheese, and soon he will pour this on it, which is just like a French toast. It's eggs and milk. We have a fancy name for it here. It's called a royale in sort of, yes, a royale with cheese. There you go. And we mix that in, and then Justin is going to pour it over this matzah mix.
My household doesn't have these same recipes, doesn't have the same vocabulary, doesn't have the same culinary anything. So these things are all in a very real blind spot. They're helpful a little for myself at the moment in order to pass on to my son in this moment, to give him some base of reality moving forward. But without these on the light board, without them coming to light in some form of enrichment as to what did I miss, I would be totally lost right now.
Into the oven it goes, and we bake it. At home, most people would fry it like a frittata. You do it on a fry pan at home, but this is a bakery. We have a lot of ovens, and so we do it in an oven.
But wait now, again, but this can be served for Passover because there's no flour.
Absolutely. This is a Passover classic. Matzah brie is as old as Passover. Truth be told, it probably was invented in the United States. It's probably an American invention, but it's traveled the world now. Everybody has it.
Ooh, there you go.
Here we go. This is the big moment.
I don't want to get too close to her. What a tragedy that would be.
Exactly.
No pressure. Well, I got to tell you, I really am learning so much. You know, growing up going to Sunday school, we knew about Passover, but all of these fascinating and delicious facets. I just wish there was some way they could get some matzah brie up to Studio 46, and I hope they heated it. So what do you guys think of the matzah brie?
I mean, it's delicious. It's delicious.
There's only, if you can believe it, John, there's one fork.
One fork.
There's one fork in the entire
Thank you, Chris.
newsroom area. We found one plastic
They
fork.
only have one fork.
It's a true story. So I'll take Andrea's word for it.
Really good.
We'll send forks.
Thanks, guys.
So that's what was on the news this morning, that before I went to service. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.